to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the UFC 280 recap. As you guys know, it was one of the biggest cards that we've had in a long time. As far as did the card deliver from an entertainment standpoint, I don't know. I've heard some mixed reviews. I'm curious what you guys think. Comment below. I thought it was an okay card. Of course, again, you had all the stardom on this card, but some of those big name fights didn't necessarily deliver. We're going to be recapping the whole card, so we'll jump into all of them here. We'll tell you how we did from a betting standpoint and all of that. In the first fight, we had Rosa taking on Lena Landsberg. Not necessarily a shocker here. Rosa was able to prevail in this fight. She did face some adversity early in the fight. In the first round, she got cracked by Landsberg. But overall, she just continued to move forward and handle business. Lena Landsberg, a fighter that's in her 40s now. Rosa was the much more primed fighter. She went out there and did what she should have done. But I'll tell you this much. As far as from a prospect standpoint, Rosa, to me, although she was currently ranked 10 going into this fight from the Tapology worldwide rankings for the bantamweight division, I'm really just not that high on her. She has a solid resume as far as her record goes, but when you really watch her perform, there seems to be a little bit of something missing, in my opinion. And I think when she fights the upper echelon fighters in the division, I do feel she will fall short. Time will tell. She has a little bit of room for improvement. She's still at an age where she can develop. And as far as what should be her next fight, in my opinion, I wouldn't mind to see her get thrown to the wolves. See her get it matched up with Irene Aldana, who's coming off another phenomenal finish against Macy Chiasson. Unless Irene's going to be getting a bigger fight here in the near future, I guess there is some real potential that Irene does get a big fight. So let's not hold our breath if that's the match they make. But I would like to see Carol get tested against a top of the food chain type of fighter. If it's not Irene Aldana, I don't know if Jermaine Durandamy is making her return anytime soon. She hasn't fought since 2020. And then other than that, the one that would make the most sense probably is going to be Pani Kianzad, who's coming off that victory over Lena Landsberg as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the fight that we see. And as far as Lena Landsberg goes, probably the end of the road there. I don't know. Makhachev pulls off the third round armbar submission over Malcolm Gordon. In my opinion, it was much needed because I wasn't that impressed from what I was seeing from Makhachev leading up to that submission. Now, the submission, it was pretty impressive, and you like to see different elements in the game of Makhachev. He is shown to be such a well-rounded fighter. Of course, he has so much potential at the age that he's at, but showing to have some holes in his game to an extent. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but to say it like that, but going back to his last fight where it wasn't necessarily the most impressive, and then in this fight too, having his back taken at times from a guy like Malcolm Gordon, I pumped the brakes on Muhammad Makhachev as far as this big prodigy entering the flyweight division. He's still extremely young. There's a lot of room for growth. I think the UFC maybe wants to pump the brakes with him a little bit because I think that as he works his way into the top of the division, I think he's going to eventually run into a brick wall. I do believe that. I think when he gets matched up against the right opponent that has much more experience and is older and whatnot, I think they're going to hand him his first L in the next couple fights if they don't ease his way into the top of the rankings and let him develop some more skills and let him mature as a man. So maybe I'm being a little harsh, but I expected a little bit more from him in those first two rounds. And I didn't like the way he ended the second round. Now, for his next match, it's tough, right? Because people already hold him in high regard. I really don't want to look above. I want to slide down as far as from a matchmaking standpoint. Maybe you match him up with the Tyson Nam, who's coming off that big victory over Ode Osborne. He just defeated Malcolm X Gordon, who you see was just ranked a little bit behind him on the Tapology flyweight rankings. I don't think you want to match him up with Tatsuro Taira. You got two hot prospects in the division. I really hope that that's not the case at all. I mean, how far back can we go, right? I mean, it's a little tough to go too far back. Bruno the Bulldog Silva, I would love to see that match. I know that Bruno hasn't fought in a while, but he's still a fighter that I hold in high regard. He's been a little bit inactive. He hasn't fought in 2022, but whenever he chooses to make his return, that's a fight that I wouldn't mind as well. We already seen him take on Cody Durden. I mean, that ain't going to happen. And if you want to, for those of you guys that want to see him, jump right to the top of the division, I mean, the match with Tim Elliott is sitting there. If that's the route that they want to go, you got Tim Elliott, a longtime veteran in the game, a fight that is definitely winnable for Makhachev, but at the same time, he could run into some trouble with Elliott's grappling. That's a fight that I wouldn't mind to see. Maybe that's the route that we go. Maybe we see Tim Elliott versus Muhammad Makhachev. In the next fight, Arman Petrosyan was able to out-volume AJ Dobson. He was the better striker. AJ Dobson was just a little bit too patient in there. He was kind of plotting forward, walking Petrosyan down, but Petrosyan was just by far the more active fighter, outlanding Dobson, takes that victory quite easily there. So to start the card off, we picked all these fights right. Now, I did pick Omar Gachiev to defeat Abubakar Nurmagomedov. No official action. Wanted to throw a dog at you guys. I apologize that Gachi really didn't perform. But again, we talked about the fact there was a very realistic possibility that Abubakar would be able to exploit the wrestling of Gachi's. As we saw in Gachi's previous fight, he was kind of controlled down on the mat by Caio Bahayo. So, of course, we knew that there was the possibility that Nurmagomedov could do that to him. I was hoping maybe he refined some of his skills there. And we've seen Abubakar make some mental errors in the cage plenty of times. I thought that Gachi might have been able to capitalize there, but that was not the case. Let's see. We're going to talk about the next fight for this guy. Nikita Krylov defeats Vulcan Ostermere. This was a fight that I was very excited for going in. These are two guys that I really do have a lot of respect for in the division. Let's see if we can get a little picture here. Krylov raising his hands in victory. I mean, this was an excellent fight. Vulcan came out, was having a lot of success early in the first round. I really believe that Nikita Krylov showed his true colors in this fight for the way that he just hung strong, didn't get overwhelmed. He showed to be durable, and then he looked to go straight to his game plan of using the wrestling there and really took over the fight. And again, gets the unanimous decision, but he also did have Vulcan Ostermere very hurt at times within that fight as well. All right, so look, I'm very excited to talk about this division. You guys know there's a lot going on. You see at the top of the division, everyone matched up here. But you got a guy like Nikita Krylov that's now on a 2-fight winning streak, taking out Alexander Gustafsson and now Vulcan Ostermere. Vulcan Ostermere, a top 10 ranked light heavyweight fighter on Tapology. Who's next? For Nikita Krylov? I mean, did any of you guys catch the interview with Jamal Hill over on Food Truck Diaries with Brendan Schwab? I like to call him Brendan Schwab. Kind of put a little emphasis on the W there. I know it's not necessarily needed, but I still tend to do that at times. So, Brendan Schwab had him on the show. Brendan Schwab, a little bit of a clown, but he's all right, whatever. I think I would like to see Jamal Hill versus Nikita Krylov. That's the fight that I want to see. So both men coming in with some wins behind them. Stylistically, I think it makes to be a very fun fight. Nikita Krylov, he does entertain the striking as well. Jamal Hill has that big time power, but Krylov might try to exploit the wrestling of Jamal Hill's, but we've seen that Jamal Hill's been working on his wrestling as well. That's a fight that I love right there. I think that's the fight that should happen. Jamal Hill, he's been barking for a big fight, but I mean, all these guys are all matched up here. Rakic is injured. I believe Anthony Smith has an injury as well. He's coming off a loss anyway. So, I mean, that's the fight to make, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that? All right. So, then we had Caio Bahayo taking out Makhmud Muradov. I told you guys Makhmud is a good fighter, right? I mean, he had some success in this fight. I know he ended up losing the fight by unanimous decision, actually losing every round. But I don't necessarily feel that summed up what the fight was all about. I mean, I think that Makhmud had some moments, and especially in the first round, right? I mean, he landed some big shots, was going in, attacking Caio in his guard. But at the end of the day, Caio is just a very cerebral, very well-rounded fighter, and he's going to constantly give guys problems in the division. He is here to stay. And I'm actually excited to talk about who I think he should fight next as we slide over to the middleweight rankings. Let's take a look here. Of course, you talk about a division that is really set to go over the next couple of months. I mean, everybody pretty much matched up over here. Of course, Izzy and Pereira. Alex Pereira, they're matched up for the championship fight. You got Whitaker matched up with Paulo Costa. Jared Cannonier matched up with Sean Strickland. Derek Brunson and Jack Hermanson. I mean, you got all types of matches in the near future for this division. I mean, even towards the top 15, it's crazy. This division is really set to go. I mean, you take a look on the right, as you guys see here, this is the opponents that are lined up for them. Now, let's see, where is Caio Bahaio? So he was currently ranked at the 22nd ranked middleweight fighter on Tapology's world rankings here. Who is next for him? There's a couple fighters that stand out to me right away, and that is Brendan Allen and Gerald Meerschaert. Both fighters coming off some victories. Now, Brendan Allen on a 3-fight winning streak. That's a fight that I think I would like to see. I know Brendan Allen has shown to have a little bit of hesitation as far as working his way into the top 10. Doesn't seem too eager to do that. I don't think he necessarily wants to fight with Caio. I think people kind of know that Caio is the dark horse of the division at this point in time. Still has to prove more, but I think a lot of people can see him working his way towards the top. I think that would be a cool fight. Or then you got a guy in Gerald Meerschaert that you know is willing to take that fight, because he's willing to fight anybody. And take a look at some of his recent fights that he's had. Khamzat Chimaev, Makhmud Muradov, Dustin Stoltzfus, Christoph Jocko, Bruno Silva. That was a big fight for him there where he got the submission. Those are fights that I think that we could see in the near future for Caio. Bilal Muhammad, you guys know I picked Sean Brady. A lot of people were on Sean Brady. Now, if you guys caught my breakdown, you guys noticed that I did try to point out the strengths of Bilal Muhammad, and I did say that there was a very realistic avenue for him to take this fight. We know he's a very well-rounded fighter. We know Sean Brady favors his jiu-jitsu and grappling. I was hoping to see more growth from Sean Brady's boxing, but I knew if we didn't really see him take that next level up, if we don't see his striking catch up to his grappling, I definitely felt there was a realistic possibility that Bilal Muhammad could kind of out-volume him on the feet, stuff the takedowns, and that's pretty much what happened, right? He was just a more active fighter. Bilal pushes a great pace. You guys know I'm not a fan of his, but if you want to talk about what he does in the octagon, he wins. I believe now he is on a what is he on now? An 8-fight winning streak, something like that. So I mean, Bilal is really doing his thing right now, and he without a doubt is working his way to the top of the division. So you want to talk about what's next for him? You already heard him calling out multiple fighters in his post-fight speech, calling out Leon Edwards. Of course, they had that weird situation when they fought with the eye poke and all that. Obviously, that's not happening because we have the rematch of Leon Edwards and Usman going down. You see Bilal Muhammad ranked 3 on Tapology's worldwide rankings. That's a big deal. He also mentioned he wouldn't be shy to step in the cage with Khamzat Chimaev, even saying that even if he comes in overweight, he has no problem with it. He's just ready to go in there and scrap. You got to like Bilal saying those types of things, even though, again, I'm not a fan of his. I do like the fact that he's game and always ready to scrap. So, I mean, who's next for him? I'm hoping that we see Colby Covington and Khamzat Chimaev next. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that Bilal Muhammad might be in the back burner as far as I'm concerned, because there's not a lot of fighters to match him up with right now. And he's in a very tough predicament, in my opinion. And he's definitely not in a situation where he is able to just sit back and wait for a title shot or anything like that. So that's a tough one for Bilal right there. Manon Fiorot gets the job done over Caitlin Chookagian. Now, this was a little bit upsetting for me because I was very close to pulling the trigger on this fight as an official play. And I didn't. I was rewatching some tape on Fiorot, and, her last fight, she didn't look as good as I initially remembered, to be quite honest. She felt a little bit of adversity in there. Her striking's so good, though, and there were still a lot of things that I liked. So I did pump the brakes in this fight. You guys know I have a lot of respect for Caitlin Chookagian. I think she can always go out there and give her opponents a tough time and take a W against anyone in the division, maybe besides a girl like Shevchenko. But who even knows these days? Shevchenko, if I'm being honest, didn't look the best in her last fight. But but at the end of the day, Fiorot went in here she went in there and she got the job done. She landed some nice, crisp strikes, and I think that she looked pretty good in there. I think that she went in there and she showed what she's about. And at the end of the day, although she didn't go out there and get an amazing head kick knockout or anything like that, I think her stock definitely goes up. She proves that she's one of the best in the world. You go out there and you take out a girl like Caitlin Chookagian, a perennial top of the food chain type of fighter in the division. It's a big deal. And who does she get matched up with next? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you got Alexa Grasso in the mix coming off all those victories. I think that's a fight I would love to see. I think that's the fight that's that probably makes sense. It really depends what's going to be next for Valentina Shevchenko. Does Valentina want to get back in the cage soon? Do they have to match her up with one of these girls? Do they match her up with Grasso or Ferrot? I mean, Grasso, in my opinion, has paid her dues a little bit longer in the game. I think Ferrot might need another victory right before she's knocking on the door for a title shot. Maybe you match up Ferrot and Talia Santos. I think that's what we're looking at as far as the flyweight division on the women's side of things go. All right, now, I know a lot of you guys are probably scratching your head saying, where's the Teller's official plays? They're all going to start coming up here. We had 3 official plays locked in on the main card here. And the first one was a very disappointing play for me. Beneil Dariush defeats Mateusz Gamrot. You guys know I was very high on Gamrot going into this fight, and I can kind of go over that really quickly again. But I even gave out a free play on my IG, which I will start to do more often. So make sure you're following me on IG, MMA Fortune Teller _ I will be throwing you guys some free plays, and I did make up for this loss because I gave another free play coming up that we smashed. But listen, I stand behind this. I grabbed him at -190. I threw 4 units on it. And Gamrot, what he showed to me in that Arman Sarukian fight was extremely impressive. I know that I even said I felt that Sarukian edged that fight. Both men were winners in that fight. They really just showed so much. It was a 5-round war. It was just 3 months ago. I just felt that a fighter like Gamrot is just currently more involved in the game right now. Beneil Dariush was on a 1.5-year layoff, just brought a child into the world. Gamrot's been grinding over at American Top Team, putting in work, training, with some of the top fighters in the world. I just thought we were going to see his game take another step up. I thought that he would actually get the better of those grappling exchanges, but he had trouble getting the takedowns, and it cost him. We saw at the weigh-ins that he was the much larger man as well, but he pretty much gassed himself out to an extent going in for those constant takedowns, and Dariush was just lighting his feet, stuffing them, and it was surprising if you saw the pace that Gamrot pushed in that 5-round fight. I take that L right there. We start off the card from a betting standpoint, not in a good situation. Then we had Sean O'Malley with the split decision victory over Petr Yan. You guys got to let me know what you think about that. I mean, you guys already know if you follow me on Instagram, I did not believe that Sean O'Malley won that fight. Now, I think that the fight was a little bit closer than some people thought, but at the end of the day, it's like Petr Yan did enough to get the job done, so therefore he deserved to get his hand raised because he won the fight. He took 2 of the 3 rounds. But watching the fight back a little bit, watching some highlights and rewatching some of the fight parts of the fight, I could see potentially how he got the nod there in a split decision. He was outlanding Yan on the feet. He was taken down a couple times. He was able to kind of work his way back up to the cage in certain situations. But at the end of the day, I mean, Petr Yan won that fight. He did win the fight. He was pressing O'Malley. He solidified some takedowns. He landed a couple big shots. But when you watch it from a round by round aspect, Yan won 2 of the 3 rounds in my opinion. So you tell me what you think here. And you see the leech saying Yan got robbed, which is funny because he just got robbed. But it's just a little bit of a black eye in the game, in my opinion, because although it was somewhat of a close fight, the winner needs to be awarded the win, period. And then a little meme. I've been stepping my game up with these little memes and reels. And I said, that's Petr Yan after he loses his next fight. Because if he loses his next fight, he would have lost 4 of his last 5 fights. Obviously, it's a joke because Yan ain't going anywhere, but you guys catch the gist of it. He'll be making some fast food. He's going to get let go from the UFC, but obviously that's not necessarily the case. Just poking some fun. Who is Sean O'Malley going to fight next? Let's pull up the bantamweight rankings real quick. When it comes to the bantamweight division, I mean, Petr Yan, a lot of people thought that he was really the legit champion of the division still at this point. Some people may still believe that after they feel he should have just won that fight again. He should be on a 3-fight. He should be on a forget about it. We have to run the table back all the way. As he should have not lost any of these fights. Some people believe. I tend to be one of them. But who's next for Sean O'Malley? I would love to see the rematch with Marlon Chito Vera. That's the fight that I want to see. I'll tell you what, he doesn't want to get matched up with Merab. I don't know. Merab is a different type of grappler than Petr Yan. Petr Yan's well-rounded, but Merab is a little bit of a different beast. I think he gives Sean O'Malley some real problems there. So I want to see the rematch. I'm sure that Sean O'Malley wants that fight. I don't see any reason why Vera wouldn't want that fight right now. It's a big-time fight. Pay the guys. Let that fight happen. And Sean O'Malley's still young. He's in his 20s. Let him work on his grappling and his takedown defense before he's getting those big-name fights. All right, so no action on that fight. In fact, I did throw a little bit of money on Sean O'Malley for fun, not an official play. Just when I saw the line, I was like, let me sprinkle a little something. I did not expect him to get the job done. When I saw he got awarded the victory, I was in shock. I was like, what's going on here? And checked my account. I'd take a couple $100 extra bucks in the account for fun, but wasn't a fight I was looking to target. Aljamain Sterling defeats TJ Dillashaw. We don't got to go anywhere. We are in the same division, so we don't have to go anywhere far. Again, Sterling somehow, I'm not trying to hate, man. I'm just telling you what I think here. I mean, somehow Sterling is the two-time defending bantamweight champion. I mean, listen, I don't want to take away too much away from him from this victory here, but you guys know what happened. It all came out. TJ Dillashaw had a continuous problem with his shoulder popping out of place. You saw his shoulder, man. You saw it. It looked just like what Aaron Pico's looked like in his recent fight. It was disgusting. Somehow they were able to pop Dillashaw's back in, but he couldn't even use his left arm. You're talking about a one-arm fighter in there. He couldn't stuff the takedowns, couldn't grapple, couldn't do anything. And those fights are really, I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, obviously, if you had money on Sterling, I'm sure you were licking your chops as you knew he was going to cruise into the eventual finish. But it's a little bit frustrating watching a handicap fighter in there just kind of, relying on his toughness to try to survive for a while, but getting beaten down. To me, it was pretty tough to watch. I'm sure a lot of you guys actually enjoyed it because I know there's a lot of Dillashaw haters. I'm not necessarily the biggest Dillashaw fan, but I was on him here for a 1.5 unit play. Grabbed him at plus 145 as an underdog. And I stand behind that play. Going into this fight, Dillashaw is a continuous winner. He's, in my opinion, when he's healthy, when he's in his prime, I know he's aged a little bit. That was the X factor, but I think he was the better wrestler, the better striker than Sterling. I was willing to take a shot at him at dog odds, small shot there. But you see, age is a factor. Dillashaw coming off the long layoff and all that, and he's just not the same guy that he once was. And honestly, I was surprised to not see him drop the gloves in the cage. And then what's next for Sterling? I mean, Sterling's the champ, so who's going to be fighting for that belt next? Sterling potentially was calling for a fight with Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera. We just talked about them maybe fighting anyway, but he's not going to fight his boy Merab. I want to see the rematch of him and Corey Sandhagen. A lot of people thought that Corey won that Petr Yan fight anyway. Or excuse me, not the Petr Yan, the TJ Dillashaw fight. So, the resume looking a little bit better to some people. A lot of people thought he won that fight. He's coming off the victory over Yadong Song. I would like to see that rematch. That fight ended very quickly. I think that's the most intriguing matchup right now. Can't give him the rematch with Yan, and I think that O'Malley and Vera are still a step away. So that's the fight I want to see next for Aljamain Sterling. And then that brings us to the main event where, again, I gave a free play on my Instagram. If you were following me, posted this. And I posted this about an hour or so before the, I posted it actually immediately after the Gomrat loss, which was probably about an hour or so before the fight. So you guys can expect it on my Instagram once in a while. We'll see in these big events. Maybe I'll throw you some free plays. I was very high in Islam Makhachev, and it was so funny because a lot of you guys know me as the Charles Oliveira rider, whatever you want to call it, man. I've been riding with Charles Oliveira for a long time. He's been coming through for me time and time again. He's came through me in underdog spots. He's came through me on prop plays for submissions, submission plays. He's came through for me on straight up money line plays, even as a slight favorite here and there. He's came through for me in all types of ways throughout the years. But when it came to this matchup, it reminded me very much so. If you guys remember, of course, when Khabib took on Conor McGregor, that was a fight that I flew out to Vegas. I flew out to Vegas to see. You guys know I'm a giant Conor McGregor fan. And I threw big money on Khabib. Big money on Khabib. And a lot of action came in on McGregor the day of the fight. I was able to get Khabib at a great line. I threw big money on him, especially at the time for me. It was a lot of money, man. I was putting together a lot of what I had, and I was banking on Khabib. I felt that confident. And it was such a hard fight to watch. Again, I'm a giant McGregor fan. And I was at the time, obviously, and money is more important here. And that's how I felt about this fight. I felt so confident that Islam was going to get the job done in this fight. I felt it. I felt he was a stylistic nightmare for Charles Oliveira, and for a variety of reasons. And Islam becomes the champion and kind of continues Khabib's legacy, right? Khabib and his dad's legacy kind of continues that now. So it's kind of exciting in my opinion. And he went out there, he got a big finish over Charles. So I think you see maybe a little bit more excitement start to back Islam. I think he could start to build a little bit of a brand that was similar to Khabib's. Remember, Khabib was kind of known a little bit as a grinder or whatnot over the years, but his name just exploded, and then everyone got very excited to see him fight towards the end of his career. I think that we could see Islam build some of that. I think he needs a nemesis in the division that kind of builds him up. But I'll tell you this much. I have become a very big Islam Makhachev fan. First and foremost, I mean, yeah, he brought in a lot of money for me, salvaged my card. I mean, I still had some small losses in the card, but this really helped me out here. Could have been much worse, obviously. So that's always a great way to build a relationship with the fighter from a fan standpoint. Sorry, I keep saying standpoint. I'll cut down on that. I know I tend to say that, but you know, as far as him bringing that money in, but the real reason why he's grown on me is for the fact that I like the way he carries himself. He doesn't talk too much, but he has this confident demeanor in himself, and he's just a structured guy. He's a no nonsense type of guy, and I'm starting to like what Islam Makhachev is about. And man, if he didn't make that one mistake against Adriano Martins, we're talking about a 24-0 fighter, and he has even a little bit more of that mystique like Khabib had. But I think that one loss, it's not going to tarnish his legacy, obviously. And I think that the more he keeps winning and beating the top guys, he starts to get that Khabib mystique where he's just looked at as the pound for pound and this and that. So who do we want to see Islam Makhachev take on next? Now, this is exciting. You guys know this is my favorite division in the game. So, I mean, this is going to be pretty easy, right? The word is that it's going to be Alexander Volkanovski coming up in weight to take on Islam Makhachev, two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the game. If anything comes up where Volkanovski's not able to step in there, I think that you got to say that Beneil Dariush is the next man in line based on what he's been doing. In fact, I feel very strong about that. I don't think that you could even argue there's anyone else in line. The next guy is Beneil Dariush. It's a little disappointing for him that Volkanovski just slid right in and just cut him off there. Maybe if Beneil Dariush would be a little bit more exciting on the mic, a little bit more polarizing, maybe he would be the guy that would be getting that fight. But that's how the game goes. You know, a lot of these fighters come from these humble backgrounds, and they're these types of guys that are very grounded and want to be very respectful. Well, you know what? When you want to be that type of guy, you've heard the saying before, nice guys finish last, and that is a fact. In the fight game, that is a fact. So you guys know I've had a lot of fighters that I've interviewed, and I always like to ask them those types of questions. A lot of them, they want to go that route. They want to be the respectful, calm, nice guy. Okay, well, you will lose money if you go that route, and you will miss giant opportunities like this, because if Beneil Dariush had my mouthpiece on what he's been doing inside the cage, I could literally make him millions of dollars. He could be a Conor McGregor type of fighter right now. You give me the platform that he has right now and the abilities that he's been doing. You just get on that mic and you say a couple of the right things and forget about it. So unfortunately, he's gonna have to take a step back to Alexander Volkanovski, which I do want to pull up the current pound for pound rankings if you guys don't mind, because we're talking Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. Now, this was going into the fight. I do believe you got Alexander Volkanovski ranked on Tapology as the #1 pound for pound fighter right now. And I do agree with that. After Usman was finished, I do agree with that. Israel Adesanya has not been going in there and dominating the same way that Volkanovski has. Look at Islam Makhachev, ranked number 5 there. So this actually, let me clarify something moving forward. These are updated very quickly. So these are updated right after the card, because you see Charles Oliveira behind Makhachev. And I'm going to say that these are updated. So Makhachev number 5. Makhachev gets that victory over Alexander Volkanovski. I think you're going to see him slide up in the mix over here. So I'm very, very excited for that matchup. Let's see here if I can pull up a little something. You got some pictures from the road to the UFC, and here's a couple pictures of the Volkanovski stepping into the cage. And this is the fight to make, man. It's going to be awesome. Cannot wait for it. And let me know what you guys think, all right? Let me know what you guys think of the matchmaking we did here today. Let me know what you guys thought of UFC 280. Obviously, it was a very fun card. Let me know how you guys did from a, I'm not going to say it. You see, I almost said it there. Let me work on my vocabulary. I'm trying to switch up some of my words. I've seen a couple of you guys in the comments section. All right, I'm going to start cracking open some books, get my vocabulary more diverse. But let me know how you guys did on the card as far as your bets went. And I'm very curious to see who you guys targeted on this card. I hope you guys all made it a profitable one. All right. On that note, signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
the MMA fortune teller.
The teller.